On Larry King Now, the groundbreaking horror filmmaker Eli Roth spills details about his new movie, Knock Knock.
Because I think that what makes my movies work, as much as the violence and the gore, is the acting, but that always gets overshadowed by the kill sequences. So I wanted to show...
Knock Knock has one kill?
There's one drop of blood in the whole film.
But it's a horror film.
No, it's a thriller.
Talks the roots of his love for horror.
You just have to look at what scares you, whether it's, whether you're going to get sick and die, whether you're going to die alone, whether it's
death.
ISIS, death.
Death is the scary thing.
It's death, it's loss of control, it's the presidential election, it's everything.
And tells us about the highly anticipated remake of Cabin Fever.
And there was a day when the script went out to all these agents and everyone's like, oh, we're going out for Cabin Fever. So there I was, and everyone's reading a script with a date 1995. And it was 2015. I thought, my God, this thing I wrote 20 years ago. Now all these talent agents, everyone's rereading it.
Plus, so what do you use for fake blood in your movies?
It depends. There's different kinds. For mouth, they have a special mouth blood because the blood that you're using for your skin looks amazing on your skin, but you can't drink it. And then there's certain types of blood that looks really good on metal. So imagine there's someone there and you're gonna stab them with a knife. You wanna get the close-up with a knife, there's a different kind of blood. The guys at K&B Effects have it down to a science.
It's all next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Eli Roth, our special guest, making his second appearance on Larry King Now. The actor, director, and producer is known for his massively successful contemporary horror hits like Hostel, Parts 1 and 2, Cabin Fever. This fall, Eli is back with not one but two new films. The Green Inferno, a cannibalism-centric horror flick shot in the Amazon jungle, that's out now, and the thriller Knock Knock, starring my friend Keanu Reeves. That hits theaters this Friday, October 9th. Halloween is coming. You might be the new king of horror. Is Halloween your favorite holiday?
Well, Halloween was the only holiday. And I grew up in Newton, and it was a very, very Jewish neighborhood, so Christmas was like a completely foreign. It was just a day we got to take off from school to watch more horror movies. But it was really like, Halloween was the day I was the one planning my costume for all year, planning how to decorate my house. It was like the most. I'd have like 3 costume changes in school during the day, fake blood capsules. I loved it.
Did people ever say trick instead of treat to you?
Yeah, I got tricked a lot.
You did?
Yeah, there was, it's interesting, the phrase trick or treat, I remember showing up at a house trick-or-treating, and it was like trick or treating. They went trick, and they like grabbed us and pulled us and put like sleeve, pillowcase over our head and pretended it was like friends of ours. But it was massive.
Nuts.
It was a little nuts. Yeah, safest city in America, but it's still in Massachusetts, so people love to fight there.
By the way, switching subjects, we lost a guy I used to interview on my old radio show, Wes Craven. What did he mean to you as a kid growing up?
Wes Craven was one of those names that, as you got older, his films grew with you. So when I was a kid, it was before VCRs. So films like Last House on the Left was the film that your friend's older brother saw. So you'd have them going, oh, that's a movie, and they take the girl and they're pulling her entrails out. And I remember when I finally saw it, it actually lived up to the descriptions. It was so disturbing. But Nightmare on Elm Street was a film that traumatized me. I remember I saw it on a VCR and I had to pause it, and I think we played Clue for like 6 hours just to like cleanse ourselves of Elm Street, and then I had to finish it during the day. I was actually too scared to watch the movie. And then in the 90s, Scream brought back horror. So just to think of someone who has not only just had 3 massive influential horror films, but in 3 different decades, it's insane. When I made my first film, Cabin Fever, I made it for a very low budget, and I didn't have money for music, like to put songs. So I said, oh, I want Van Halen. They're like, sure, that'll be $300,000. And you're like, okay, I have $1,500 for 6 songs. And I went to a screening of Last House on the Left, and it has this kind of Harry Nilsson folky music done by David Alexander Hess. And I remember thinking, like, God, this is 1972 and this is 2002. You couldn't use this music in a movie today. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to track down that music. And so I took 6 songs from Last House on the Left, and I got the guy who plays the killer who sings these songs. It was his kids did a cover for the end credits. It was something super, super geeky. And at the very first screening, Quentin Tarantino came, And he heard the Last House on the Left music and was like, oh my God, this guy's the real deal. And I met Wes and I was like, hi, nice to meet you. Sorry, I stole 6 songs from your movie. And he couldn't have been sweeter about it.
I knew him well. He was a great guy. What did he do that others didn't do? What was his talent?
You know, Wes, a lot of people try to follow the trend. You know, there'll be a successful haunted house movie and they'll come out with a haunted house movie. But what Wes did was he did things that scared him. And I think that's the key when you're making a scary movie. You know, Wes talks about things that are your personal fears, your personal obsessions. And when he was making Last House on the Left, I asked him and read interviews with him, and he talked about the reaction he felt to seeing Vietnam footage on television and seeing those bodies and what that did to him, and the fact that he wasn't allowed to see a movie until he was in college. And you know, even after he made the film, he was like, why did I make this movie? And then Nightmare on Elm Street, just that fear that there's a serial killer that's gonna get you in your sleep. It's like what everyone else was doing, Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger trying to do, okay, this killer was crossed and now they're gonna get revenge on the kids. He's thinking, you know, what if that was actually in your sleep?
What inspires Eli Roth?
You know, every day you just have to look at what scares you, whether it's, you know, whether you're going to get sick and die, whether you're going to die alone, whether it's
death.
ISIS,
death. Death is the scary thing.
It's
right?
death, it's loss of control, it's the presidential election, it's everything. You know, the truth is you can't scream, like, as much as we'd love to, everybody would love to wake up and go, ah, when you read the newspaper, but you can't do that. And I think that horror movies are the only place that can provide a space where people can do that.
So what do you make of it, as President Obama sadly but well said, it's now commonplace? Oregon, what's going on? What do you make of accepted violence?
It's so terrifying. You know, my wife is Chilean, and we talk about the difference in the cultures.
She's in your movies.
And yes, she's in the movie. Lorenza, yes, she stars in the movies. And we talk about the violence in Oregon, and it is unbelievable how it just seems to be getting worse, that there's no gun control. And everyone's saying, well, the answer is more guns and more guns and more guns. And then they're already 3D printing guns. So people have already solved that problem, that it's just going to be something you can 3D print. So I don't know. It's the shootings in Oregon. It's so disturbing because you think of that poor 67-year-old teacher who's just going to work that day. And how could you ever anticipate something like this is going to happen in your life? And it does feel like there's nothing we can do about it. It's terrifying. And then, of course, people rally and go, more guns, more guns. It's like this insanity.
Next, come this Friday, you can make it an Eli Roth double feature at your local theater. We'll talk about 2 new films, The Green Inferno, which he's just mentioned, and Knock Knock, when we come back. Eli Roth got 2 movies now, The Green Inferno, that's opened already, and now Knock Knock coming Friday. Green Inferno is being called your goriest yet. Now, it's about cannibalism, right?
Yes.
Why did you do this?
Well, it is the goriest. I think Green Inferno is my mic drop. I think it's like, okay, and we're done.
You went down and worked where?
We went into the Amazon in Peru, farther than anyone has ever taken a crew. The last movie that was anywhere near there was Werner Herzog's Aguirre, The Wrath of God, 40 years ago. And I wanted to go even farther. It was insane. We went to a village.
You met cannibals?
We didn't meet cannibals, but they were farmers. We met people who, well, we might have met cannibals, because there are a lot of people who actually do that. But no, we filmed in a village that is completely cut off. They have no boat, so they're farmers, but there's no electricity, no running water, and they'd never seen cameras before, and they'd never seen movies or television. We do conceptually explain to this village of 300 people what a movie was. So we went there with a generator and a television, and my Peruvian producers did this. And they called me and they said, guess what? We showed the village, we showed them a movie and they loved it. And they all agreed, it's 300 people. The elders voted and we can shoot there. And I said, great, what'd you show them? Like Wizard of Oz, Frozen. And they're like, no, we showed them Cannibal Holocaust, which is like considered widely the most violent movie ever made. And I said, how could you show these children? They go, no, don't worry. They thought it was a comedy. Everyone was laughing. So they thought we were making a comedy. But it was amazing. The whole village participated. And the first day, we're shooting because these American students that protest, their plane crashes, and the very people they save wind up thinking they're invaders, taking them in. So we have all the Americans tied up in these like log canoes, and they're it's the current in the river's crazy. So we're trying to like keep them all in line. And I have like 200 people coming over the hill. It's like you enter Colonel Kurtz's village in Apocalypse Now. We have heads on spikes and dead bodies and a guy like beating a drum. And Lorenza is the lead. She wakes up and she looks around and sees. While we were shooting it, I yelled, action. It was the first thing we were going to shoot. And nothing happened. I was like, acción, saying it in Spanish. And they said, no, 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 wait, wait. And these 2 pontoon boats full of Christian missionaries from a super church in Texas pulled up. And but completely by coincidence, and they saw the Americans tied up in the canoes, and the people like dressed in red paint with spears and their heads on spikes, and they was like El Diablo. They're like, oh my God, the devil's here, the devil's here. And they started playing songs and singing Christian songs, and of course I'm yelling, roll camera, roll camera. And I was like, no, this is not a joke. And they had to go and say, it's not the devil, it's Eli Roth. You know the guy with the bat and the hostile guy? He's making a horror movie, and they were furious.
Stephen King said about your movie, "The Green Inferno is like a glorious throwback to the drive-in movies of my youth. Bloody, gripping, hard to watch, but you can't look away."
That
Pretty
was
good.
I cried when I read that.
Now that's not. Tell me about Knock Knock.
All right.
Keanu Reeves.
I love Keanu.
He's a great guy.
Amazing. He's the
And
best.
versatile and a terrific actor.
I cry. Wait till you see him in Knock Knock. His
Worked with Al
performance
Pacino in that great movie.
in Devil's Advocate.
Oh, what
I
a
know.
movie.
We talked about that. He's, you know, after Green Inferno, I remember when Peter Jackson made a movie called Brain Dead, which was released as Dead Alive here, which was the wettest horror movie ever done. He made Heavenly Creatures, which has 1 kill. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do a movie that basically has 1 drop of blood. Because I think that what makes my movies work, as much as the violence and the gore, is the acting. But that always gets overshadowed by the kill sequences. So I wanted to show...
Knock Knock has 1 kill?
There's 1 drop of blood in the whole film.
But it's a horror film.
No, it's a thriller. I wanted to make like a psychosexual
Describe
thriller.
the difference.
Horror films, you're there to get terrified. You know, if you see a horror movie, you're there to grab, you're there to scream.
But what about Hitchcock?
Hitchcock is a thriller. Hitchcock's like, you know, Psycho is the one that crosses over into horror film. People used to say, oh, a horror movie is blood and a thriller doesn't. But this is much more like Fatal Attraction. You know, the thing about horror movies is they have that resonating scare that they give you nightmares for the rest of your life. There are films that cross over and straddle that line, like The Vanishing. It's a thriller, but it's a very disturbing movie.
What's Knock Knock? No, so what happens?
So Knock Knock is it's inspired by a film called Death Game that was made with Colleen Camp, Sandra Locke, and Seymour Cassel from 1975. Very, very little scene. Also by Fatal Attraction, these kind of sexual thrillers. Keanu Reeves is a married guy, seemingly happily married, and he has to stay home and work while his family goes away for the weekend. There's a rainstorm. These 2 beautiful girls showed up, played by Lorenza Izzo and a Cuban actress named
Your
Ana de
wife.
Armas. Yes, my wife. We were engaged at the time we shot, and they show up and they just, can we use your phone? We got lost. The cab dropped us here. We're trying to find our friend, and he invites them in, and one thing leads to another, and they have a menage a trois. They have a crazy, wild night, and then the next day, the girls won't leave, and it all starts to unravel.
Oh, he has no children?
Well, the kids are away with the wife,
Oh,
so they're calling on. They're away for the weekend, so they're calling on FaceTime, and he's got to hide. And suddenly, it just spirals, and he slowly loses control. And my first film is A Cabin Fever, Hostel, and Green Inferno. It's all these kind of smart, privileged, upper middle class college kids that go to the ends of the earth for adventure, for fun, for sex, for vanity activism. This is about what happens when you invite it into your own home, when you open up Pandora's box.
How did he get Keanu Reeves?
Good question. My producer, Cassian Elways, he read the script and he said, I think Keanu would do this. And I thought, Keanu was originally my producer in Chile, Miguel Asensio, was like, Keanu would be perfect. We just didn't think it was realistic. But Keanu had a movie that moved, that pushed, and he had a window. He read the script, he loved it. He said, this is like funny games. And also, it's the first time he's ever played a dad. In all of his movies. I mean, this guy's been famous since the 80s, and it's no accident why, but he's never played a father. So I wanted something that was warm and friendly and fun, and you're used to seeing Keanu Reeves save the world and be in charge and stop the bomb and, you know, and crack the Matrix. And it's fun to watch these 2 girls just lead him around. They're like basically like 2 cats just toying with him.
You like directing your wife?
I love it. Well, Lorenza's amazing. She's, you know, it's great when you're working with someone that you really feel is your partner. I mean, on screen and off. And she knows that I wouldn't direct her, I wouldn't cast her unless I really believed in her and believed she was great. But she jumps in the river in Green Inferno in the Amazon, and she's screaming for her life in this one scene on a rock, and she really almost drowned. And after she did that, I just fell in love with her. I said, this is the girl for me.
After the break, Cabin Fever is back. Eli dishes on the remake of his 2002 cult classic horror film. Stay with us. We're back with Eli Roth. Knock Knock opens Friday. The Green Inferno is out. And there's a remake of Cabin Fever coming out next year. You're going to executive produce it?
I am. I am. I realize.
Why are we remaking it?
You know, that's a good question. And Cassie and Elways, who sold the first Cabin Fever, came to me and said, we have a group of people that want to remake the movie using your exact script. And I thought, okay. And they said, do you have a problem with that? And I said, no, sure. If they want to do it, why not? Because it's going to happen anyways. Now that's pretty commonplace. But I wrote Cabin Fever when I was 22, and for 6 years, people said it was an unmakeable piece of crap. People were like, this movie makes no sense. Why is there a kid yelling pancakes and everybody dies? It's that kind of a movie. So why would you ever want to make this? And then we did it, and it wound up being a big hit and has a cult following. On a purely egotistical level, it's really flattering that they want to. I'm like, oh, little old me, my movie, you want to remake it? And there was a day when the script went out to all these agents, and everyone's like, oh, we're going out for Cabin Fever. So there I was, and everyone's reading a script with a date 1995, and it was 2015. I thought, my God, this thing I wrote 20 years ago. Now all these talent agents, everyone's rereading it and talking about it. And what's clever is the director said, I'm going to change all the kills so that anyone who sees it is going to, anyone that likes the first one that wants to see it will get kind of new twists on the deaths.
Who's going to be in it?
They shot it. They have a whole cast. It's done. It's all kind of new young actors.
Wow, and that's next year.
Yeah, next year.
And it's different from the original?
It's the same movie, but with different kills. Okay. It's weird. I look at it like restaging a play. Like, okay, here's a play, and then you saw it, and then here's another production of that same play. I completely see it that way.
Now, you're executive producing a murder mystery for Snapchat. How's it going to work since Snapchat is 5 seconds?
Well, it's interesting. I co-founded a digital company called Crypt TV. And what we've been doing is trying to do innovative digital, kind of dark and edgy storytelling. And we did it on Snapchat. We did the first murder mystery with a team called Culprit Creative, these directors, and we killed a bunch of social media stars. So as it was unfolding, all of their followings were like, oh my God, I just saw them get killed, But they're invited, it's like 10 Little Indians. They're invited to a mansion, but it got incredible, incredible press and buzz, and Snapchat loved that we were doing really something really innovative with the format, and then it was gone in 24 hours. I'd like this eventizing, using the digital platform. We have a bunch of shows now on Crypt TV, like 1 Minute Horror, and we've started marketing movies. And in fact, the Green Inferno, we were able to help target marketing using data and using our shows, integrating, like we have an episode of Drug Deals that was Green Inferno themed. So instead of blasting ads on ESPN, we find a core audience that likes dark and edgy material, and you can kind of data test to see who likes Green Inferno.
You ought to talk to our director, Scott, because he has directed a short movie that's terrific, and he's kind of in your genres.
Well, we can put it, I'm telling you.
It's a weird little movie he made.
Well, by the way, there's an audience for it. Our whole theory is that with $10 or $100, you can penny data test. Like, we could take, my name and a little clip from Green Inferno and test it and go, okay, John Carpenter fans like this, Quentin Tarantino fans don't like this. This group, Danny Trejo fans love this. Like, you can actually see who's watching it through to the end, who's liking, commenting, and sharing. You can go on Crypt TV, and we're able to get millions of views. Not just lots of views, they're engaged viewers. So that was one of the ways that we were able to get out and market Green Inferno, which is a cannibal film, which hasn't really been done before. Obviously, we had a great marketing team at Blumhouse Tilt. Our partner, Jason Blum, is our partner in Crypt TV. But we're able to really narrow down our audience and find our audience. So if, we want to take your director's short film, put it on Crypt TV, we could find an audience for it.
Well, he's done a great job. All right, I want to play a game of You Only Knew. I'll just throw some questions at you, Eli.
All right.
Who's the first girl you ever kissed?
Oh, my God.
Was it in Newton?
My first real hardcore makeout was at Camp Cedar. None of the girls in Newton were like a fat little Jewish nerd wearing an Iron Maiden t-shirt into horror movies. Not gonna happen. But at summer camp, I could change my persona. God, oh wait, I know it. I think
Remember her name?
Was, yes. Jenny. It's weird because you spent the whole summer repeating that name over and over and over.
You were making out a lot?
Are you kidding me? I had like one makeout, and that would have to last me like 3 years until the next one came along. It wasn't until I went to France. When I was 17, I went on an exchange to France. I was a senior in high school, and nobody knew what a dork I was in Newton, so I could really just change. I don't know how, but in 1990 at Lycée Amiral de Grasse, I was the cool guy, and I hooked up with as many French girls as I possibly could in that 4-week period just to bank it until I got to college.
Toughest scene you've ever had to film?
As a director, the scene in Cabin Fever where the hermit is in the car vomiting, and our actor, Joey Kern, took a a crowbar and he smashed the glass, and we had the charge on the glass set too high, and it went in his eyes. And there's apparently 5 layers in your eye, and it went through 2 of them. So we had an ambulance on standby because we were lighting someone on fire, and we rushed into the hospital and had to film it, shoot around it, continue not knowing if my friend was going to be blind. And then as an actor in Inglourious Bastards, when we shot the fire scene, they had done tests and said, oh, it'll get up to 500 degrees. It's never going to get closer than 15 feet. Quentin was on a crane in a fire suit. I had a guy at my feet with a fire. That's not digital fire. They'd never tested it with the seats and flags burning. It turned into a 2,000-degree inferno. The fire comes right over us. You see a swastika fall. That's because the 6 steel cables melted.
Who were you in Inglourious Bastards?
I was the bear Jew. I had the bat. I had the baseball bat.
Oh.
So I'm at the end shooting Hitler in the face. So I knew this is a big moment. I was like, I got to shoot Hitler in the face with a machine gun. So I was gunning and gunning, but you see me like wincing. It was like we were in an oven, and as soon as they yelled cut, we dropped everything, we left. They said if we were there for another 15 seconds, everything would have collapsed and we would have died. My hands were completely burned. I had to soak them in ice for days.
Great movie.
Yeah, it was great. It was worth it, though.
Brad Pitt.
Brad's the best.
The great.
He was the greatest. He was the greatest ever. Like, imagine you've directed 3 movies, and now Quentin's like, you're going to be alongside Brad Pitt. I'm like, I'll be right back. I'm going to the gym. And I went to the gym, man, 6 hours a day, put on 40
Who's a
pounds of
dream
muscle.
actor you want to direct?
Oh my God. Well, I would love to direct Pitt. He is a dream actor, but also Sacha Baron Cohen. Sacha Baron Cohen, I think, is so good and such a genius and so funny. I would love to direct him.
Funniest fan encounter?
I had a girl come up to me once and just wiped blood all over my shirt. I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I thought you really liked blood. I was like, I like food coloring and corn syrup. That was weird. Another girl went and said, oh, can you autograph my arm? She was with her mom. I was like, oh, sure. And so I took a Sharpie and I signed her. And then 2 hours later, she came back. I was at a screening. She came back at the end of the screening. She goes, look, she'd tattooed my arm. And her mom was like, isn't it great? I was like, yeah. If your mom says, sure.
Favorite non-horror film?
Willy Wonka. Even though that kind of is a horror movie, I love Willy Wonka. I love Gene Wilder's performance. I love the music in that movie, the direction, everything. And I like how weird and disturbing. And for most of the movie, you really think the kids are going to die. I guess it is a horror film. Yellow Submarine, non-horror.
In our final moments, Eli will take your questions, and we'll have a little Halloween surprise. Don't click away. We're back with Eli Roth. The Green Inferno is out. Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves opens Friday. Is it opening wide?
No, it's going to be on VOD and in 10 cities. So everyone will be able to watch it on iTunes and on demand or in one of the major cities.
Social media questions at Buff Vegzo on Twitter. What do you use for fake blood in your movies?
It depends. There's different kinds. For mouth, they have a special mouth blood because the blood that you're using for your skin looks amazing on your skin, but you can't drink it. And then there's certain types of blood that looks really good on metal. So imagine there's someone there and you're going to stab them with a knife. You want to get the close-up with a knife, there's a different kind of blood. The guys at K&B Effects have it down to a science. It's mainly corn syrup and food coloring.
On Twitter, Bob Vixo again, a second question. In your opinion, who's the scariest horror movie villain ever?
Man, you know, that early Freddy Krueger was so terrifying. But I think recently, that killer in It Follows was really scary. This thing that just never stops coming for you and can take any form. The It Follows monster, I think, is recently the scariest.
Boring Angel on the Larry King Now blog. Do you endorse film school for aspiring filmmakers?
I swear it's like college. It really depends on who you are. I needed it because I was such an immature idiot at 18. As, by the way, I was at 25, 30, and 35. I loved film school because it was such a great place to make mistakes. I so wasn't ready to get out there in the world. If some people say, oh, don't go to film school, spend $100,000 making a film. Well, there are people that do that and they make a $100,000 student film. I know for Tarantino, it's a complete waste. He didn't need it. So I really think it depends on your personality. I went to NYU. I loved it. I can't recommend it highly enough, but it really depends on the person. It's only a component. While you were in film school, you better work. You're not going to spring break in Florida. You should sit there and get work on movie sets.
NYU's great school.
I loved it.
Daniel Garrett on the Larry King Now blog. What happened to the props used in the Hostel movies?
They are at the EMP Museum in Seattle. There's a whole exhibit called Can't Look Away that is curated by John Landis, Roger Corman, and myself. And the Hostel chair, the scythe, and basically anything that survived is sitting there in Seattle.
Oil King 800 on Twitter. If you were to base a film off of a witch, a sea monster or a goblin, what would you choose?
Witch. I grew up in Massachusetts, and I was obsessed with the Salem witches and the Salem witch trials, and the European witch trials, and I would love to make a really good witchy film.
Joe Meekum on Facebook, 5 favorite horror films of all time.
The Shining, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Exorcist, Cannibal Holocaust, and Evil Dead.
All right, Halloween is coming up.
It is.
To end the show, you're going to help us pick some costumes. I'll name the person. What costume would you have them wear?
Okay, good.
Donald Trump.
He should be the naked guy on the roof, and It Follows. Like, there's a whole thing of the monster that comes after you, and they're looking up, and they just see this weird, really creepy-looking naked man standing. That should be Donald Trump.
Kim Kardashian and Kanye West.
Kim and Kanye, I think that they should go... Oh, that'd be tough. I would like to see them in a True Romance, like Clarence in Alabama, just to see like Kim do all like the busted, like the end of the movie kind of True Romance. So they're all busted up and scratched up and scarred
The Pope.
up. The Pope should do Fifth Element. I think that the Pope would be such a good Lilu. I think if he dropped a little bit, if he starts now, what is it, the 4th, and goes on like a crazy crash diet and like does a lot of cardio, he could probably fit into the Lilu costume.
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders should be Colonel Sanders because everyone is going to call him that anyways, so he might as well embrace it.
Betty White.
Betty White, I think, should actually go as Kim Kardashian. I think she's got the moxie for it, and she certainly has the goods.
Carly Fiorina.
Carly Fiorina. I would like to see Carly Fiorina go as The Professional. Natalie Portman in The Professional.
Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber. What would be a good Justin Bieber costume? My God. I would really like to see Justin Bieber go as Justin Timberlake, but like circa 1998 Justin Timberlake. In like a gold lame suit.
Hillary Clinton.
If Hillary Clinton does not go as Donald Trump, she is going to lose the election. She's wasting her.
Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather should go as James Brown. Yes, I made that joke.
And Larry King.
Larry King should go as Howard Stern. Because we've seen Howard Stern do the Larry King. I want to see you go as Howard Stern. It's time.
And Eli Roth.
Wow. Eli Roth might go as Jean Reno in The Professional. Because I watched it recently and I'm a little bit obsessed with it. Either that or I may have to go. I may just bite the billet. Look, I've gone as Ben Stiller before, so I may have to go as Siler from Heroes.
Yeah, you could go as Ben. Eli, you're the best.
Larry, you're the greatest.
The Green Inferno now opening is there, and this weekend, Friday, Keanu Reeves in Knock Knock. See them both. Knock Knock debuts Friday, October 9th. As always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. We love Eli Roth. You got to come back again.
Happy to.
See you next time.